Pourquoi? Why do you risk it? For me, I use the opposite word. I'm going to string a wire from the 2 towers of the World Trade Center and walk on it.
Hey, Aaron. What? We now have 2,000 subscribers. Oh, what can we talk about? Well, we talked about our favorite movies for our 1,000 and 1,500 subscribers. Oh, let's talk about our least favorite films now.
You mean I can just complain about live-action Disney movies for half an hour?
Sure.
Number 10, Earwig and the Witch. I don't even like to call this a Ghibli movie because, you know, it's CGI, and there are only 4 people that worked on this movie that worked on other Ghibli movies. And basically nothing happens the entire movie. It starts with Erica at an orphanage being an asshole to other characters, trying to get people to do what she wants. And then when she gets adopted by Baba Yaga and the Mandrake, she doesn't even say goodbye to her friend. Like, I don't know why they did that. And then the next hour is just Erica helping the witch with spells, her being an asshole to Erica. And then she does a spell to prevent the witch from giving her worms. I don't even know what that does. And then she makes 2 extra hands appear on the witch. And
Don't touch me.
And then the witch makes a pile of worms appear in her room, which, like, they look like gummy worms because the animation is so horrible. And then Erica thinks it's a good idea to put the worms through a hole in the wall into the Mandrake's room. And then the Mandrake turns into a devil monster and yells at the witch. And somehow that gets both of them to do whatever Erica wants. And then in the last couple of minutes of the movie, you find out that Erica's mom was in a band with the witch and the Mandrake. And her mom shows up at the house with her friend from the orphanage. And the movie's over. And, like, let's not even talk about the animation. It's just hideous. Like, I don't,
Like, literally, Toy Story, the first animated movie ever made, looks better than this movie. All the humans look like plastic or clay texture, like they didn't even texture it, because that's what the basic texture of CG. They didn't add anything to it. I had some Cinema 4D classes in high school. I don't know what I'm talking about, but literally, like, the lighting and the direction in Toy Story is better than this movie. Yeah, we have all the Ghibli movies. We are a bit of, a collector of them, and we are not going to buy this movie.
we are never going to buy Earwig and the Witch. Number 9, Gigi. I mean, I usually love classic musicals, but this is probably the most boring film I've ever seen. I mean, I love Maurice Chevalier, but him just sitting on a park bench singing about little girls just didn't really do it for me. Like, I wasn't invested in the story at all. I mean, all the characters were boring. Like, the songs were okay, but probably what gets to me is that there's basically no dancing. There's basically nothing visual except for, like, the gorgeous production design. But aside from the production design, there's, like, nothing visually interesting about what the characters are doing. And I don't even remember what happened later in the movie. I think I fell asleep by the third act. Yeah, there's a song lyric from this movie that I'm going to add some stuff in to make it perfect for this movie. What's happening now? Nothing. What happened 10 minutes ago? Nothing. And 10 minutes from now? Nothing.
It's a ball.
And number 8, Satellite in the Sky.
Yeah, I watched this one. So I borrowed from the library a Turner Classic Movie Sci-Fi collection, not that one. It was with Them, Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, Satellite in the Sky, and World Without End. Now, I watched Them and Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, and they were pretty good. But I watched Satellite in the Sky, and it was just so boring. It was just people talking about, like, a rocket launch, lots of stock footage of, NASA, and I literally just shut it off halfway through. I read later that the plot was there was a stowaway on a satellite orbiting Earth, and then something happened. I watched World Without End later after that, and I got less through that. I skipped through it, and all I saw was a scene where some guys were in a cave fighting really fake spiders.
Number 7, A Wrinkle in Time. I mean, the only reason I watched this movie is to see how bad it was, and it honestly took me 4 days to get through it. I mean, this is probably the most bizarre Disney movie I've ever seen. It wants to have the best moral of any movie, but pretty much nothing about it makes any sense. The only good thing about the movie is the score when it gets to the first planet. And then 50-foot tall Supreme Oprah looking at the completely wrong spot when talking at the other characters is just amazing. And all the pop songs that they played in the movie were awful. All the acting was awful. And Storm Reed's friend, the white guy, he literally does nothing the entire movie. And this is probably just nitpicking, but I cannot believe for a second that Storm Reed is the child of Chris Pine. Maybe somewhere in the movie they said that that Charles Wallace is adopted because he's Filipino and Chris Pine is white and his mother is half black. And just the shot composition, there's way too many close-ups of the actors. When they first get to the first planet, it's the top of the frame is her eyebrows and the bottom of the frame is her bottom lip. I don't know why the director thought it was a good idea. And it's probably more nitpicking, but there's just a whole bunch of continuity errors. Like, when they're in the Orange Crystal place with Zach Galifianakis, there were literally 2 close-ups of Oprah and Storm holding hands, but in the very next wide shot, they're not holding hands. Most of the visual effects were just bad. When they get to the first planet, the green screen was especially awful, and when Reese Witherspoon turned into a cabbage monster, the texture on her looks okay, but when the actors are on top of her, you can clearly tell when it's a green screen and when the characters are completely CGI because they look like they're from the Polar Express. And then the white kid just falls off of her for no reason, and then traveling at terminal velocity, which is about 120 miles an hour for a kid his size, he falls on a bunch of flowers that are alive, and the flowers stop him within 1 second, which I calculated it. He should be dead because that's equivalent to 12 Gs over that 1 second. Going from 120 miles an hour to a dead stop in 1 second is 12 Gs.
And if he died there, the plot wouldn't change because he does nothing.
There's also story beats that don't make sense. When they say they can't test her to the evil planet because it's all darkness and they can only test her to where they find light. In the very next scene, they test her exactly there because I guess Storm really wanted to go there. I mean, I could just go on and on, but we'd be here for an hour, and I want to get to the next one.
Number 6, Invaders from Mars, the 1953 version. And I like 50s sci-fi movies. I like them. Beast from 20,000 Fathoms. The Ray Harryhausen movies. Even It Came from Outer Space. But Invaders from Mars was just so boring. 45 minutes in, nothing was happening. It was just people looking through a telescope at a fence or something where a buried spaceship was. It was just so boring. And then when they finally get sucked down through the ground or something and see the aliens, it was just, they were so stupid looking. They were ridiculous. They were wearing green pajamas, and the main alien was oh my god, I can't even describe it. Just, this is what it looks like. I'm pretty sure I didn't see a good quality version of it because I don't even remember the Technicolor looking that good. And I did watch all the way through it, but I was falling asleep.
Number 5, Shark Tale. I mean, I used to watch this so many times as a kid. It's probably the most nostalgic movie on this list. But now as an adult, I truly just understand how awful it is. In this spot, you could basically have every movie that I watched as a kid, but now I realize are terrible. Yeah, Home on the Range, and
Chicken Little,
Santa Claus 3,
Shrek the Third.
But Shark Tale is the one that I just passionately hate the most. There's basically nothing more I could say that hasn't been said in every other YouTube video talking about Shark Tale, specifically Shay Phyllis's video. It's something that I could say, you could take the screenplay and take out all the fish puns and set it in New York City, have all of the same actors that are the same voice actors, and pretty much nothing would be different. It would just be about Will Smith, who works at a car wash and accidentally kills a member of the mob who's Jack Black's brother. Jack Black is gay, and Robert De Niro is the head boss. And Martin Scorsese is Oscar's boss, and Renee Zellweger is his girlfriend. Yeah, that would be a better movie than whatever the hell we got. Number 4, Cats. I mean, what more can I say about this movie? It's the Cats movie. I mean, there were some aspects of it that I like. Skimble Shanks' song is one of the greatest scenes in movie history. But the rest of the movie is just complete ass. I don't even have to mention the CGI cat bodies are just nightmare fuel, and all the singing from the celebrities are just really awful.
Okay, you can go now.
All the singing from the celebrities are just awful. It feels like they didn't practice at all. The worst part about it is it could have been good if they just made the movie like an anthology film where each song is its own little short film and they actually had better actors and cat costumes instead of shitty CGI. I mean, it's the Cats movie. There's nothing more I could say that hasn't been said in Sideways' video. But like, just how it's about cats. Number 3.
Artemis Fowl.
This is basically the first act of a shitty fantasy movie, but without the second and third act. I mean, all the acting is bad, as you come to expect from live-action Disney movies. Basically, we're told everything and shown nothing, and nothing about it makes any sense. Artemis Fowl is supposed to be a criminal mastermind, but he does nothing the entire movie that's even remotely criminal. One of the fairies gets kidnapped by Artemis Fowl. Well, that's technically criminal, but like, just nothing else. And then the other fairies try to get her back by setting up a time freeze, which freezes the entire world outside of his house. But earlier in the movie, the time freeze froze everything within the bubble that it created, so why didn't they just freeze everything inside of the house and get her out? And the acorn thing that the bad guy wants, we have absolutely no idea what it is and what it does, except for the fact that it teleports Colin Farrell to the house. Like, and we don't even know why it did that. And the part where Josh Gad opens up his mouth and digs under the ground and ends up on the second floor of the house, that's just especially horrible. And when the black guy shoots the time freeze with the arrow, with that like James Wan Aquaman camera shit going on, they make a big deal about how everything is going to blow up when it collapses, but when it collapses, literally nothing happens. I also saw a video from this guy saying like it almost feels like the entire plot of the Aculos was added in reshoots and ADR because like 20 out of the 25 times you hear the word Aculos, it's off screen. Number 2, Aladdin, 2019. This is like peak shit right here. I watched this in a theater with other people. The only reason why I watched this is because we were going out with some family friends and they insisted on taking us to a movie, and Toy Story 4 didn't come out for another week, Avengers Endgame was too long, and I wasn't going to be caught dead watching Men in Black International. And movies like The Lion King and Mulan, the remakes, I would probably hate more, but I just straight up refuse to watch them. This is one of the first times where, like, I saw it in the theater and right away I knew something was wrong. Like, I was like, something is very wrong. And then I spent the rest of the movie an emotionless husk and not really enjoying anything. And by the end, I was like, wow, that was just, like, wildly mediocre. But then I rewatched the movie on Disney Plus, and then I realized just how crappy it really is.
It starts off with just horrible auto-tune of basically everyone.
To another Arabian night.
And then we're introduced to Aladdin in a wide shot down an alley. We have no idea what we're looking at. And then this next scene is one of the many scenes that they changed from the original to make it worse. Aladdin steals a necklace, trades it for a bag of dates, and then he sees some kids that they just look at him, and then he just gives the kids the bag of dates without a second look. In the original scene, that scene was after the big one jump ahead chase scene, so Aladdin had to go through a whole bunch of stuff just to keep the bread he had, and then he gives it to the kids. It shows that he's the diamond in the rough. But in the live-action version, he gives the bag of dates to some kids before that big chase scene, so it's basically nothing. We basically don't care. And then One Jump Ahead starts, and this is something I've noticed with all of the live-action Disney remakes of musicals. Whenever they do a song, they either start with a giant orchestra right away, or right at the first verse, instead of just building up to it. The only reason I can assume that is because Mina Massoud is a horrible singer, and I guess Alan Menken purposely did that to try and drown out his voice. And you already know that there are scenes that speed up and slow down for no reason. I guess they were trying to, like, have it be like a Bollywood thing, but, like, what? But it's not at all like Bollywood, so why did they do that?
But, like, why though?
And then there are also some scenes where they changed lyrics, like, rip them open, round the back, guys. Instead of take it back, guys. I don't know why they changed that. And also the blocking of scenes are just awful. There are scenes where Aladdin and Jasmine are just fast walking down an alley, and then they're on a cart. I think I'll take a stroll around the block. And then the scene where they're like, stop thief, vandal, Abu scandal, that's all just in one shot.
Stop thief, vandal, Abu, scandal.
That's one of the scenes that could actually benefit from multiple cuts, but it's all done in one shot. Now let's just skip ahead a little bit. Marwan Kenzari as Jafar is one of the worst performances I've ever seen in a big budget movie.
I can destroy cities.
I can destroy cities.
The most suitable punishment would be to make you watch while I take what you...
He's an imposter.
He's been a pretender the entire time.
This is the same director from Snatch and Sherlock Holmes. And then there's the pointless scene with the Swedish guy. It ends him trying to pet the tiger. We hear a roar, we see him get pulled out of frame, and then it cuts to an exterior of the castle. We hear screaming, and then it fades to a model of the castle in the Sultan's office, and then it pans to the Sultan. I don't know why the hell they did that.
I don't even remember what happened after that. There's no, like, hourglass or something that Jafar knows that Aladdin is the diamond in the rough. He just sees him, like, very bad CG running through the castle, and then just steals him, and then brings him to the Cave of Wonders.
And then we meet Will Smith, who obviously looks like shit. I mean, the texture on the body looks okay, but his head looks like it's floating on top of the model, because that's obviously not Will Smith's body. I mean, they could have just not done mocap and had him be entirely a CGI cartoon until he needs to be a person, or they could have just have him not be blue and just be Will Smith the entire time. But no, they went with both.
He can still be, like, multiple copies of him and have and all that magic stuff, but the blue just doesn't look good at all. He just
have him be Will Smith. And then we get the only good scene in the movie, the new version of Friend Like Me. I mean, if you ignore that Will Smith's genie is completely different than Robin Williams' genie, and
this scene is just copying the original, it's actually pretty good.
Except for two parts. You know the lyric, try some of column A, try all of column B? In this movie, you see a row of clothes and a row of jewelry, when a row is the exact opposite of a column. A row is like this, and a column is like this. How did they make that mistake? And also at the beginning of the song, they changed the lyrics again. In the original, the genie says, Alibaba had them 40 thieves. And then the next line, he adds a little flair at the end of the name Scheherazade, who's the narrator of The 1001 Nights, Scheherazade. But the Will Smith version, he says, Alibaba, he had them 40 thieves, which makes the next line sound like Scheherazade, he had 1,000 tails.
Well, Alibaba, he had them 40 thieves. Scheherazade, he had 1,000 tails.
Even though Scheherazade is a woman.
And then we get the Prince Ali song, which might be worse than One Jump Ahead. Okay, this boring ass parade where people are just slowly walking through the town. The editing is just so bad. It's like cuts like every half a second.
And another example of changing the lyrics so the line doesn't make sense anymore is this line. Heard your princess was hot, where is she? In the original, the line was, heard your princess was a sight lovely to see, and then that leads into the next line, and that good people is why he got dolled up and dropped by. Where in the remake, the sentence structure doesn't make sense anymore. I mean, heard your princess was hot, where is she? And that good people is why he got all cute and dropped by. That's not how a sentence logically forms. And then at the end, they still kept the lyrics, 60 elephants, llamas galore, bears and lions, a brass band and more, 40 fakers, there's cooks and bakers, and birds that wobble on key. But in this movie, we literally see 8 elephants and none of the other stuff. It just cuts to more random shots of shit we already saw. And then the next scene, we have more awful dialogue. And I'm just going to skip to the end because I don't care. Jafar somehow gets the lamp and his acting becomes especially awful.
There's a song for Jasmine that has nothing to do with anything. Speechless! It's like kind of good, but it sounds like a top 40 song and not a Aladdin Alan Menken song. Because it sounds like fight song.
This is my fight song!
Okay, stop that so we don't get monetized. And then she wishes people away like she's Thanos or something. Let's just skip past this.
And then Jasmine takes the lamp and then jumps on the rug with Aladdin, and then Iago turns into a giant parrot. You know, giant snake, that's just too good. We needed to make it bad. How about instead of doing that, Jafar teleports them both directly to him, like he did with Aladdin 5 minutes earlier. And also, when they're both flying away, Jasmine could have rubbed the lamp and wished that Jafar didn't have powers. I mean, Jafar wished for stuff before Aladdin's 3 wishes were done, so there's no reason why that wouldn't have worked. But no, if they did that, the movie would be over. And then the rest of the movie is kind of like the good movie, where Jafar wishes to be a genie and then gets trapped in a lamp, and then the movie's over.
And then there's a dance scene at the end of the credits, which just shows that the filmmakers could have made a good movie with good cinematography and good dancing, but no, they decided to cut every half a second and have just sped up and slowed down shots instead of, having good cinematography with a long takes. But no.
Yeah. And then the first thing that you hear when the credits roll is DJ Khaled. I mean, obviously you can tell we don't like this movie. Like, the trailers for Mulan looked okay, but then when I saw that Mulan's basically a Jedi, I completely gave up on watching any more live-action Disney remakes.
We're not watching Lion King. We're not watching Dumbo or Pinocchio and Hunchback of Notre Dame when that comes out.
Or Little Mermaid.
Little Mermaid.
Yeah.
Not Little Mermaid, because that's like another one where I'm kind of nostalgic for it, because we watched that as a kid as well. No, I watched the TV show when I was a kid. Remember that?
Hunchback of Notre Dame can be good is if they get Jeremy Irons to play Frollo.
You know that James Gordon is going to be one of the gargoyles.
James Gordon.
I'm calling it right here. Live action Hunchback of Notre Dame, James Gordon is going to be one of the gargoyles.
So, what movie could be worse than Aladdin?
It's probably a movie you've never even heard of. Number 1, The Beast of Yucca Flats.
Okay, here's the story about this. Like many years ago, I bought this from Walmart, 54 Classics. It has good movies like Metropolis, Nosferatu, Phantom of the Opera, House on Haunted Hill, and Night of the Living Dead.
And that's it.
And those are the only good movies. All the rest are just really crappy public domain movies. They're like VHS, really bad quality scans of them. Like, this is what some of them look like. We went on IMDb and looked up the worst rated movie on here. And that was Beast of Yucca Flats.
Yeah, you do not know how bad this movie is.
Let's just go and try. Just give you just a little taste of what this movie is.
Mom, we saw some real pigs.
Yeah, and a coyote.
Coyote?
Yeah.
Don't you be playing with coyotes. Now, come on. We're leaving. Come on.
Oh, we never get to have any fun.
Yeah, hold on to your butts.
This entire movie is people wandering around a desert, and the main plot is Tor Johnson gets blasted by an atomic bomb and turns into a monster. And there's also a bored guy doing narration.
Vacation time. Man and wife. Unaware of scientific progress.
There's kids that go into a cave.
Randy? What? Where are we? In a cave, I guess.
And by the way, this movie is only 53 minutes long.
When we watched it, I was like, oh my god, when is this over? And then cut to credits. What? It was like 50 minutes long?
And they also didn't record any sound when they were filming, so anytime you hear someone talk, it's either in a super wide shot where you can't see their mouth, or they just focus on the neck down.
Hank? I can't find him. What do you think we should do?
I don't know, Lois. Stay here, I'll go out farther. We'll find him.
There's probably, technically worse movies like in the depths of IMDb, like Jurassic Shark or Saving Christmas, Shark Exorcist, but we're not going to watch those. We don't go out to see bad movies because we're not a review channel.
We're not a review channel that makes money off of watching bad movies.
So that was just 10 of the worst movies that we've ever seen.
Yeah. And by the way, thanks so much for 2,000 subscribers. I honestly, never thought we would get this much.
So thanks a lot. And here's to 3,000 and 4,000 and maybe
a million.
No, that's not good. That's not good. I love you, movies.
Yes.
And then, we talked about our favorite movies. Ready? Mm-hmm. What? Don't slam the ground. What? We now have 15.